This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out, Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is 741. That's right. It is our Go Home Episode 2, WrestleMania. And it is going to be a special one. It is going to be the greatest WrestleMania in all of history. Or at least that's what they tell you every single year. But make sure you check out all of our previous episodes at markinout.com. Check us out, buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. You can check us out and download and subscribe over at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Go give us a like on Facebook and give us a follow on TikTok at Markin Out, and on Instagram at Markin11, and on Twitter at Markin Out. You can follow me, Dave the Rave, on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Sweendog and CM Sweeney85 on Instagram. And also you can follow Chris Brandon on all social media platforms at BTTG161. But that being said, happy WrestleMania week. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. I think I could be completely mistaken here, but I think this might be the very first episode of Markin Out that has numbers that line up with what WrestleMania we're at. Obviously it's not WrestleMania 741, but it's WrestleMania 41. And
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know if that ever happened before, but
wow, we are
interesting.
aligned. We are aligned,
yeah.
And it may not happen again.
Yeah, I don't think so.
May not happen again. So for you lucky listeners,
once in a lifetime.
Welcome to Markin Out.
Yeah, how was your week?
It was good. It was great. It was grandy. I am excited for WrestleMania. I don't know about you. I feel like there's not enough WrestleMania promotions on daily TV. Like
daily
talk
TV?
Shows and stuff like that.
Oh,
like talk shows and everything. I feel like I haven't seen anybody.
The only
this week they should.
Did Charlotte promote anything when she was on that talk show the other week? I don't think so. She must have.
I don't even know.
The only story that came out of that obviously led to SmackDown going off the rails, but
yeah, there's nobody appearing on doing the media runs, it seems, besides like Jimmy Fallon and the late nights. But
that was only that one.
How was your week?
Triple H spot. Huh? That was it. You know what was the most shocking?
Yeah,
they didn't
have
any inclusion on Saturday Night Live. You're in the same family.
Live in there.
It's like Peacock. Why not?
Why not? So what did you do this week?
Nothing. Zilch. Geared up for WrestleMania. Gotten some extra naps. Made sure to have the energy. Because this is going to be the most ridiculous sort of WrestleMania weekend there was. Because not only do you have the whole AEW gimmick happening this week where they overtake Nitro, you have the Hall of Fame at the absolute worst time ever because SmackDown is 3 hours. Like, there's no reason. Just cut the third hour of that SmackDown and make that third hour into the Hall of Fame. It's just, there's too much.
I mean, I would just do the Hall of Fame on Thursday.
Even that would have been better. But this week is so, it's jam-packed with wrestling. You're bound to fall asleep during one of the shows.
It is. That's why I'm sticking to WWE.
Well,
besides NXT, Stand and Deliver.
That's also WWE live.
Yeah.
You're going to catch Evolve, but you're not going to catch Stand and Deliver.
I'll be in class.
Well,
Evolve?
No, I was joking. But Monday Night Raw kicked off with Gunther being interviewed, which was supposed to happen much later on, but Gunther came right out and waved Michael Cole into the ring. And Gunther basically said that Jay is full of it in regards to not being scared of him. And he kind of, to me, I don't know if you thought this as well, to me, Gunther kind of sounded like he was spiraling here. Maybe in denial.
I didn't really see or hear the spiraling aspect.
To me, it sounded a bit like that. And I did like Gunther bringing up, saying that 80% of the time he's been in WWE, he's been champion. I think that's a pretty cool, stat to have. But the main, the basic gist of this was, I'm beating Jey Uso at WrestleMania. Which, I still
that's the big thing to take away.
And then later on, Jey Uso came out basically saying he's going to beat Gunther. And this was really just, for me, this was just a segment for the fans to yeet. I thought Gunther was going to show up. When Jey went into that crowd, I thought he was going to show up and choke him out. But that did not happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I still see that Jay's not going over.
I feel like he is.
But we're going to find out. We're going to find out for sure. But, yeah. First up, you had Bayley picking up the victory over Liv Morgan. This matchup just a build to WrestleMania. Nothing special in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the match was fine, but I wish the gauntlet match from SmackDown happened more than just last week. And I wish there was actual build to this match at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I did like some of the stuff they did. I liked Liv Morgan suplexing Bayley off the ring steps. I liked the code breaker that she did on the ring apron. But Raquel Rodriguez got involved a few times. And Raquel, she got Liv's foot on the rope to break a pin, which didn't stay on the rope, but the pin was broken. Lyra attacked Raquel Rodriguez. She got taken out, though. And then Bayley took Raquel Rodriguez out, and Liv Morgan went for the Oblivion, and Lyra held on to Bayley, leading to Bayley getting the same jackknife pin that Lyra's been winning with to win that match. I guess to show that they can be a team or something, but I don't think they're
show that
winning.
They can pick up the victory.
Yeah. After that, you had Rey Mysterio pick up the victory over Julius Creed. Both Chad Gable and Brutus Creed got involved here. You had the LWO and Ivy Nile hop up on the apron to argue with the referee, and then the ref sent everybody to the back. And I thought that was a good way to get the LWO away, so there was no backup for Rey Mysterio, which would also be a good setup for them to bring El Grande Americano out, because Chad Gable was kicked from ringside. And when...
Made sense to me.
And when Julius Creed got sent to the outside, El Grande Americano came out. Ray put his attention there, but he eventually sent Julius Creed into El Grande Americano. He hit the 619 and picked up that victory. And then El Grande Americano attacked Rey Mysterio and used that loaded mask to take out the LWO.
The loaded mask. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to come into play once Mania. I feel like Rey Mysterio is going to do the 619 of hitting that, kicking him square with the metal into the head, knocking him out cold.
Or we see him take the mask off and that leads to the end.
I don't know.
After that, you had AJ Styles pick up the victory over Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross, they said, apparently went to the same gear maker as AJ Styles to get similar gear made up, so I thought that was pretty cool.
That's wild.
He wants a darker side of AJ Styles to come out because he needs a better version of AJ Styles to take on and beat Logan Paul at WrestleMania. So I like these head games that Karrion Kross is playing. You had Scarlett get involved, which I wish all these matches didn't have outside interference, because I absolutely hate when that happens match after match after match after match. So I wish that didn't take place. But it's nice to see that Karrion Kross got a lot in this match. It's been so long since we've seen him on television, so especially...
I mean, and that entrance...
Yeah.
I'm just happy that the entrance is back.
Yeah. But AJ Styles...
That entrance, it used to be so much excitement of that entrance happening at WrestleMania stage. And I feel like he lost a lot, but I'm happy to see everything kind of returning back for him.
Yeah, and AJ whipped him into the ropes at one point and grabbed his ankle. So the match stopped and he got a cheap shot in. So we're seeing that side of Karrion Kross as well. And that pissed AJ Styles off, so that fired him up, which eventually he ducks the cross hammer and hits the phenomenal forearm to win the match.
Yeah.
And then Logan Paul came out afterwards to a sea of boos to congratulate AJ Styles on winning that match. And then he made fun of the people of Sacramento. He played a video package of himself. And then AJ challenged Logan Paul to get in the ring right then and there to fight. And then Kross got back in the ring, and AJ had to fight both of them off. Logan Paul ends up knocking AJ Styles out with the punch and the pulverizer.
Did you see the video of Karrion Kross after the match?
I don't think so.
The promo? I don't know. I feel like there's so much potential with Karrion Kross where gimmick-wise and mic-wise and everything that he's doing, there's a lot that they could do with him.
Yeah.
There's a lot. But next up, you had Finn Balor pick up the victory over Penta, but it was by disqualification.
Before the match, you had the Judgment Day attack Braun Breaker. And before this match also started, Penta attacked Finn Balor. As far as this match goes, I thought it was a pretty even match. But like the other freaking matches, the Judgment Day came out, caused a distraction. When Finn Balor went up for the coup de grace, Braun Breaker made his way out. Carlito got the heck out of the way. I thought that was really funny. But that literally leads to the end of the match where Braun Breaker attacked Finn Balor. The Judgment Day jumped in. Braun Breaker speared Carlito and Dominic at the same exact time. I thought that was a cool spot. I don't know if that was to like one up that freaking amazing spear from the other week. I don't think that anything's going to top that, but I thought that was a cool spear at least.
Yeah, no, I don't. It was definitely an innovative and cool spear, but he's not topping that spear from last week.
And then he went for Penta, and Penta kicked him. So I liked the aspect of that. This whole episode of Monday Night Raw, this ending for me was abrupt because I didn't even realize that with this Paul Heyman segment that we're about to jump to, I didn't realize that was the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman spent the whole night waiting for Roman Reigns, so I probably, in my head, I should have connected the dots that this was the end of the show.
Yeah, that there was going to be a little bit more.
But CM Punk approached Paul Heyman at one point, and he put his arm around him to talk about friendship, and then Roman Reigns finally pulled up. Roman shoots straight to the ring with Paul Heyman following him, trying to get Roman Reigns' attention, basically. And instead of using the microphone from Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns got his own microphone. And he spoke about people betraying him, basically alluding to Paul Heyman, and then asked him how he could do that to him. And Paul Heyman said that he owed CM Punk a favor. It wasn't a betrayal. And Roman Reigns is like, why am I the one being screwed here? I never asked for CM Punk to join that War Games team. Why am I eating the tab for this? And then Seth Rollins came out and said Roman Reigns is starting to figure everything out. Favors happen by choice, not you're not forced into a favor. Which I liked Seth Rollins playing this role here. And he said Paul Heyman is choosing
he's
CM
really good
Punk
at that role.
over Roman Reigns.
He's like devil's advocate to a point.
Yeah, and Roman Reigns actually agreed with Seth Rollins. And then he attacked Seth Rollins, which Paul, I guess, was happy about. But Roman shoved Paul Heyman to the mat. And then CM Punk came out, and that led to them brawling. And Seth Rollins ended up cracking a chair over Roman Reigns' back again. I thought that was a fantastic callback.
I agree. I thought that it was a nice throwback.
And then CM Punk and Roman Reigns ate stomps from Seth Rollins as well.
Yeah, I think that the build to this main event is sprucing up a lot, and especially with the favor for Seth Rollins and everything, you're having a lot of discussion whether or not Paul Heyman's going to align himself with Seth Rollins now. And that's something that a few months ago wasn't really in the cards. It was either Roman Reigns or CM Punk, but now with Seth Rollins really in the mix with Paul Heyman, anything is possible for this matchup.
And also, people think that it's going to be him aligning himself with The Rock now, which I can also see. It's very difficult to choose between those two, the scenarios.
Who, Paul?
No, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, not only has he dressed like The Rock twice in this lead to WrestleMania, he said something very similar to what they said when John Cena turned. So, it's very, very difficult to pick which scenario I think will happen, if at all. Mm-hmm. So, that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to NXT. Kicked off with Ethan Page picking up the victory over Lexis King, Eddie Thorpe, and Wes Lee to become number one contender to that North American Championship. You had Ricky Saints on commentary for a bit. The match was literally all over the place. Not in a bad way. It was very chaotic, though. I liked the one spot. Lexis King went to try to take all three of them down at one time, and ends up missing. All three of them literally dodged Lexis King. He went for that 3-point stance, and I thought that was hilarious that literally all three of them, not one person. What are those odds? 30? No, that's 25%. 25%. You have 75% chance of hitting them. That's not an accurate odd. There's a 75 versus 25% there's something. There's a math thing there. I failed math.
Oh, no.
But
We
I
got Brandon
75.
math taking place right now.
So I like that spot.
We got some Brandon math taking place.
Ethan Page ended up pushing Eddie Thorpe into Ricky Saints, and Saints got pissed off, and the referee kicked him from being ringside for that. Ethan Page and Eddie Thorpe both locked Lexis King in a submission, and Wesley prevented him from tapping out. I thought that could have been the end of the match there. The electric chair drop from Ethan Page with the DDT to Eddie Thorpe, with the whisper in the wind from Wes Lee to Ethan Page, I thought was a fantastic spot. I feel like that would be like one of those Tower of Doom spots, but they weren't in the Tower of Doom position. I thought that was a very well done way to do all what was it, 3 moves there? So I like that. And then Ethan Page hit the twist of fate on Lexis King to finally win the match, and he cut a promo afterwards, only to have Ricky Saints come back out through the crowd and spear him.
I like this. I like the fact that it wasn't even something done to his back, too. Like, Ricky Saints jumped the barricade and everything, but for the spear, he came up in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't rhino it or edge it where he would be stationed, like, right behind him, and then he turns around into the spear.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
After that, Lola Vice picked up the victory over Tatum Paxley to qualify for that ladder match. I was definitely pulling for Tatum to win this match, but deep down, I knew that was a long shot.
Yeah, with everything with TNA, I was surprised that Paxley lost.
I like what they did in the match, but Lola Vice hit that back fist to pick up the victory. You had Ava announce a triple threat tag team match at Stand and Deliver, where the winner gets to face the women's tag team champions. I guess it's the week after, or maybe the episode after WrestleMania on NXT. But Roxanne Perez was pissed off, And Ava was like, go find a partner. If you find a partner, I'll gladly turn this into a fatal 4-way. The other teams you had there, Metaphor, Fatal Influence, and I guess Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan. I was going to say Chemical X. I don't think they've necessarily used that name on the TV program, but they were part of that segment. And then Ava pitched, not Ava, Roxanne later on pitched being her own partner. And Ava was like, absolutely not. You can't do that. Which I feel like somebody as good as Roxanne Perez kind of can, but I get that they didn't want that. And Cora Jade showed up and was like, well, how bad do you want to be in this match? Is it bad enough to apologize? And then that match, they got added to the match. So I think it was predictable that it would be Cora Jade. Obviously, as per usual, I was hoping that it would maybe be Meiko Satomura stepping up. A little bit of a long shot. She's retiring this month, and the last thing they did was the Japan tour. I thought maybe we would see her on TV again before she retired.
I think you're gonna have to let it go. You've been pitching her for the past few months.
She's literally retiring. I don't know how they didn't use her at the Rumble or anything. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, no, I do agree. It's a bit insane that she hasn't been utilized, especially because of her legendary status.
But so that match is taking place on the kickoff show for Stand and Deliver, bright and early at 5 a.m. for people in Las Vegas. That's a joke. It's much later, but
yeah. Yeah.
It's a ridiculous time also.
But
I miss the days of one WrestleMania.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like one night of WrestleMania, because you pack so much into this week. I said at the beginning of the show, you gotta have the AEW, you gotta go to the AEW night 2, you gotta go to the SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, you got Stand and Deliver, you got WrestleMania, you got the Raw after WrestleMania, you got the NXT after WrestleMania, you got the AEW after WrestleMania, even though that doesn't make sense. But then you have SmackDown after WrestleMania. There's so much wrestling. Where there's no breathing room. There's literally no time to breathe.
Yeah, I could only take so much.
After that, though, you had Hank and Tank win a tag team gauntlet match to become number 1 contenders. They started the match with Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. The Culling was out next, which I think that was maybe the longest matchup between the teams in this gauntlet match. I think somewhere along the way in that matchup, Hank got busted open from his mouth or something like that. I don't know necessarily. They didn't even mention it. The ref didn't put on gloves or anything, but he was definitely bleeding.
Yeah, I was surprised with that. I was, yeah. Usually the referees will right away put on gloves.
Yeah, but they ended that round like WrestleMania 9 with the Steiners and how Rick Steiner reversed the electric chair move into a power slam. You had no quarter catch crew after that, where Hank and Tank, they found some serious energy for that. But the final team, you had Briggs and Inamura come out of energy. How is Hank and Tank going to win this match? Hank got lucky. He rolled Josh Briggs up to pick up the win. Inamura couldn't break the pin up before 3. So going back to last week, all Hank and Tank apparently had to do was listen to the Street Profits and no other tag team to fire themselves up and win a match.
Yeah, and I think that for them to run the entire gauntlet, I was very impressed.
Well, also, you just did that on SmackDown. Maybe switch it up a little bit.
Okay, I can see what you're saying.
You had the D'Angelo family, I guess, outside. And like I said last week, it didn't seem like it was a Tony decision. It didn't seem like Stax' challenge to Dark State was approved by Tony D'Angelo. And Stax informed the D'Angelo family that Tony will not be there for them. So both teams, they brawl backstage and in the parking lot. Tony D'Angelo finally did show up. Beat the heck out of Dark State with a crowbar until the cops showed up. The cops were there because Tony called them. They were on Tony's side. He's got corrupt cops, it seems. But Tony, I guess he was kind of pissed off. He was definitely pissed off at Stacks for not listening to him. He's like, we're not fighting in the street. We're fighting at Stand and Deliver. So that match gets set up for Stand and Deliver.
Do you think at some point we're going to see him turn on Tony?
I hope not. Because as soon as that happens, I feel like that's the... Like, we have... Not to jump ahead, but it seems like if that were to happen, it would kind of turn into Chase U territory. And I don't
could understand
want
what you're saying.
That to happen. But moving to that next match, you had Thea Hale pick up the victory over Carmen Petrovic to qualify for the Stand and Deliver ladder match. Ava earlier teased a big surprise opponent for Carmen Petrovic and said to, I think, probably Stevie Turner and Robert Stone, that they will know who it is when her music hits. And when... When Mako Satomura didn't show up in that tag team match, I was like, oh, maybe it's Mako. I'm just kidding. But before they cut to commercial break, you see a graphic in the lower corner of the screen that pops up Thea Hale, which I don't understand. That was probably not supposed to happen given the tease from Ava. And it would have, like, I think it would have fit perfectly with them not doing that. Because right beforehand, you had Andre Chase trying to be spoken to about Chase U. And Thea Hale returned then to hype him up and be like, it's okay to bring Chase U back. I'll be an alumni, but it's okay to bring it back. So I thought that would have been much better had they not, I guess, spoiled that it was going to be Thea Hale in this match. But it was definitely nice to see Thea Hale back.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Fiery as always.
Yeah, I think that the crowd still reacted really nice to her, but that initial pop of her coming through the curtain would have been a lot better.
It made me wonder if the crowd didn't see the Chase U thing, and it made me think that they maybe didn't see the lower third pop up.
I think that they did, because you can hear an audio on a pop for her when she did say whatever she said. When she spoke up, you heard the reaction from the crowd.
I wonder if that was.
So I feel like they all got spoiled.
I don't know.
I would think so.
But she won that match with the Kimura lock, and then you have the final face-off with Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans. I get what they were going for here, but it just did not hit for me. Obviously, each of them spoke about winning at Stand and Deliver, but it was all, I think, pretty obvious with what they were saying. It awkwardly turned into them fighting and tossing Javon Evans out a few times, only for him to drop both of them at the same time. So I don't think that was the strongest go-home segment to Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, I could agree with you. I feel like this triple threat isn't doing anything for me. I don't even know. Do you feel like the triple threats and everything, or just in general, do you feel like anything's being taken away from Obafemi since he's been, since I think MSG? I feel like since MSG, his stock has maybe went down a little bit.
He needs another big opponent like Moose.
Yeah, I feel like since he faced Moose, I feel like his stock kind of went down a little bit.
I don't think it went down. I just think it just doesn't seem like... I don't know. We have to see what happens with Dark State. Because moving to Stand and Deliver, taking place Paradise, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. We have a bunch of matches taking place there. You got, like I said before, that fatal four-way tag team elimination match. I didn't realize it was an elimination match to become the number one contenders for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Metaphor, Fatal Influence, Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan, Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Who do we possibly see This can go so many ways because do we see the Judgment Day retaining at WrestleMania, or do we see Bayley and Lyra Valkyria winning those titles, and then we finally get a Bayley and Cora Jade versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria sort of situation? It seemed like we were getting Bayley and Roxanne on WrestleMania this year, and then that really fizzled out.
I feel, yeah. I don't know. I'm going to go with Fatal Influence.
Or do we see the Judgment Day retain at WrestleMania and then go to NXT to lose to Metaphor, where Metaphor probably shocks the world and wins those championships? There are so many ifs here. I can tell you the only team that I know is not winning for sure is Fatal Influence and Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. So you might want to re-pick your pick. Or keep your pick. I don't know.
I don't know. My whole thing with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade is Perez, I feel like, is going to get brought up to the main roster after Mania.
I feel like those two could end up like disagreeing on something during the match. I feel like Metaphor will win this match. So I'm going to say Metaphor.
I'm sticking to Fatal Influence.
For the North American Championship in a ladder match, vacant championship, you have Zarya, Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan, Izzy Dame, Thea Hale, Lola Vice. It has to be Thea Hale in my opinion. You bring her back like that, you have to.
I'm going Sol Ruka.
I think it has to be Thea Hale. I think there's going to be something that comes down between Sol Ruka and Zarya that takes them out of the match.
Yeah, actually, I'm sticking Sol Ruka.
Sol Ruka, by the way,
she's Speed though.
She just won the Speed Championship. I don't think anybody has held another title other than the Speed title at the same time. Not 100% sure about that. She is the first NXT superstar to win that championship, though.
Who was just the North American champion?
It was Stephanie.
It was Vaquer. And then, you know what? I think I'm going to go Lola Vice. Final pick, Lola Vice.
For the NXT Tag Team Championships, you have Hank and Tank taking on Fraxium. I feel like this is the match where they're going to lose their titles, and I'm going to be like, why? There was so much build behind it, which were like to the point where it makes sense for them to lose the titles. But I want like a big team to dethrone Fraxium if that's going to happen. I'm going to pick Fraxium with my hopes.
I think I'm going to go with... There has to be a reason why they just put them up in a gauntlet showing off everything, though.
Yeah, to make them look like they could beat Fraxium. Which is exactly what they did with Bayley and Lyra.
Fraxium's been on the same page. Yeah. I'll go with Fraxium.
For the North American Championship.
Let's go.
I guess we probably should have started with that 6-man tag. But the North American Championship, Ricky Saints defending that title against Ethan Page. It's Ricky Saints.
I'm going Ricky Saints. Let's go on to that 6-man tag team match. D'Angelo family and let's see. D'Angelo family taking on Dark State. I'm going to go with Dark State, no?
I think it has to be.
I mean, right? It's their PLE debut.
Yeah, I think it has to be Dark State. And I'll put a pin in that, I guess.
Yeah. Bah, I agree.
NXT Women's Championship.
Next up.
Stephanie Vaquer taking on and defending the championship against Julia, Jordan Grace, and Jada Parker.
Stephanie Vaquer. Why did you say Vaquer?
Because on this week's episode of NXT, they said Vaquer.
That's the first.
Vaquer. Vaquer is what they said.
Oh,
normally I say Vacor because that's what they would say prior to NXT, and prior to AEW I would hear Vacor, Vaquer, Vacker. So many different pronunciations.
I think I've heard Vaquer.
Yeah, I think WWE I believe says Vaquer.
Yeah, I'm going Stephanie.
Which, by the way, I'm picking. I'm going to say Stephanie Vaquer also. I will say that their videos were so much better than the videos that they had on Monday Night Raw for Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair. It was pretty much like a similar route, but this one had like actual backstory to every one of them. They went to their, I don't think Julia wasn't in her home, but Vaquer went to Chile. Jordan Grace had that whole like growing up story. Jada Parker had the growing up story too. So I thought those were very much so well done videos versus what they got on the main roster for what I want it to be the main event of Wrestle Freakin' Mania. Kind of gets passed over.
Not right.
For the NXT Championship.
But next up,
Obafemi defended the championship against Trick Williams and Javon Evans. Do we see Dark State help Trick Williams win that championship? Or is he not in the group?
Is it time to pull the trigger on Javon Evans?
I'm saying Trick Williams wins, because of Dark State. I'm not saying Javon Evans wins that title.
No. I'm just asking if
I'm saying in no way, form, shape, or whatever is it time for Javon Evans to win that title.
Okay. I'm going to say Trick Evans, Trick Williams as well. I think Obafemi's going to get brought up.
And then fingers crossed something happens with Obafemi where he doesn't just go to the wayside.
Yeah.
So that's NXT predictions for Stand and Deliver. Going to move over to SmackDown. It opened up with Seth Rollins, and he spoke about CM Punk returning to wrestling, but how he returned to AEW and not WWE, and it was because of money. And then he burned that bridge and came back to WWE, not for the fans, but for the money. And he said Roman Reigns doesn't care about the fans either, just himself. Seth Rollins mentioned how Paul Heyman brought himself, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose into WWE to be a shield for CM Punk, and he did that with no credit. Everyone was always, Roman Reigns is the next big thing. And basically it ends at WrestleMania. He'll sacrifice everything so wrestling can move forward in the right direction. It seems like there's something big brewing with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. You had Carmelo Hayes win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Phoenix was in it. Nakamura, Miz, LWO, Alpha Academy, American Made, R-Truth, Carlito, Legado del Fantasma, Andrade, Karrion Kross, Ludwig Kaiser, New Catch Republic, A-Town Down Under, Pretty Deadly. They were all in it. Santos Escobar at one point tried to buddy up to Phoenix to take Andrade out of the match, and then Phoenix ends up eliminating Santos Escobar. I like the LWO, Andrade, and Phoenix taking Chad Gable out of the match. It ties back into everything that Chad Gable's been building to, I guess, for WrestleMania this year. It was interesting to see Pete Dunne go as far as he did in this. Miz saved Carmelo Hayes from being eliminated and ends up getting eliminated himself. But Carmelo Hayes took Pete Dunne out of the match, and it came down to him, Shinsuke Nakamura, Andrade, and Phoenix. And then, wouldn't you know, El Grande Americano shows up and takes Phoenix out of the match. I picked Phoenix. How could Phoenix lose that? But I understand with El Grande Americano tying into that. Andrade and Carmelo Hayes absolutely cooked when it was them as the final two. And after Phoenix was out, I was pulling for Andrade, but I'm happy that Carmelo Hayes won as well. I would have been happy with any of them. So, Carmelo Hayes, the new Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy holder. After that, backstage, American made fun of Fenix for everything that happened during the Battle Royal. Dragon Lee showed up to tell Chad Gable to shut up. Rey Mysterio showed up. Gable was pissed off, and Rey was like, well, you're still fired up. Let's have a 6-man tag. And later on, you had Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Fenix pick up the victory over American Made, which kind of seems like, on paper to me, this seems like a dark match sort of thing, but it was very enjoyable. Definitely not about to complain about seeing Dragon Lee, Fenix, and Rey Mysterio team up. I liked the 3-man diving headbutt from American Made. It reminded me of Ready to Rumble. And then I liked that overhead belly-to-belly into a powerbomb into a combo Brutus ball from American Made as well. But the match was a bit chaotic at times, with the referee not really having control at times. It was interesting to see Dragon Lee hit that double stomp onto all 3 of them, though. And then I liked the step-up Hurricane Rana off Brutus's back to Chad Gable from Fenix. And they ended up picking up the victory. Rey Mysterio seemed like he could have been injured during that match, so I hope he's okay. You had a Charlotte interview air during SmackDown. Tiffany Stratton had one later on. Nothing. They both admit that what happened the other week shouldn't have happened. You had Rhea Ripley have an in-ring promo. Got interrupted by Io Sky. Bianca Belair came out. Fans booed Bianca. And then Naomi showed up, questioned Bianca Belair about dodging her. Fans were still booing Bianca Belair. And then Jade Cargill came out, and Naomi went and stood behind Bianca Belair before dropping out of the ring. She ran around the ring, pushed Jade Cargill into Rhea Ripley. All of them brawled. Io hit a moonsault to the outside to Rhea and Bianca Belair. I thought it was an interesting way to combine both of those matches into one segment when it actually makes sense as well. I feel like that's kind of a rare thing to happen. You had the Street Profits pick up the victory over the Motor City Machine Guns via disqualification, so they retain the championships. I really don't understand why that match wasn't taking place at WrestleMania, but I did happen to think that maybe we could see some sort of screwy finish, which would lead to a match at WrestleMania. But DIY showed up. They took the titles. Nick Aldis was furious at that, made them give the titles back over. And instead of making the match for WrestleMania, he sets up a TLC match for next week's SmackDown. Like I said, I was hoping for WrestleMania, but I guess you need to make the night after SmackDown, or the SmackDown after WrestleMania, exciting as well. We already know most likely Aleister Black is returning next week. So that should be cool. TLC, that opens it up. Maybe we'll see the Hardy Boys on SmackDown next week. Who knows? The shows after WrestleMania could be huge. Who knows? After that, Randy Orton came out and he addressed not having an opponent at WrestleMania, and he said there's absolutely no way he's missing WrestleMania. He issued an open challenge for Sunday. I think it has to be Rusev Day. And if it is Rusev returning to WWE to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania, Rusev better freaking win. So I'm hoping for that. You had Zelina Vega pick up the victory over Chelsea Green. Earlier, Chelsea complained to Nick Aldis about last week. And Nick Aldis was like, you know what? You were supposed to be in a 6-woman tag. I'm changing that to you versus Zelina Vega. Secret Harvest banned from ringside. Chelsea at the beginning of the match did like a reverse SOS sort of situation move. I thought that was a really cool move. They teased the count out again, which I don't see the big deal over because Chelsea would still retain the championship. But Zelina Vega ends up winning the match with a code red from the middle rope. Middle turnbuckle. You have to give her a title shot at that point, right? I assume so. But it would be nice to see Chelsea do something at WrestleMania, so we'll see. You had LA Knight pick up the victory over Solo Sikoa via disqualification. At the start of SmackDown, LA Knight attacked Tama Tonga and took him out of SmackDown. I think this match was most likely just for LA Knight to get a win before WrestleMania. Not necessarily something I needed to see, but I 100% I get it. Jacob Fatu showed up and attacked LA Knight. Braun Strowman made the save, and then Nick Aldis turned this into a tag team match where LA Knight and Braun Strowman picked up the victory over the Bloodline. But this goes back to what I was just saying. I don't need to see a match like this. 100% I get it. And even though some of it ties into WrestleMania, I can't wait for a 2-hour SmackDown again. I really can't. And I think no matter what, between these two matches, no matter what, on this episode of SmackDown, we were going to see LA Knight pinning Solo Sikoa. So, you had Braun Strowman get taken out of that match by Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu got taken out of the match as well. You aren't going to see them two really go at it until WrestleMania. To close SmackDown, you had John Cena and Cody Rhodes in that face-to-face. John Cena, man, I think both of them here very much so delivered. John Cena said that he's going to do what nobody's done, and Cody absolutely has no way of preparing for that because John Cena has nothing to lose. This is his final WrestleMania. He's not coming back. And he said Cody will lose on Sunday because he cares about the fans. And Cody called John Cena overrated. He called him out of touch. He basically threw everything that John Cena said in this promo back at him and applied it to Hollywood. And mentioned, the Oscars or something when John Cena ran naked? For what they want him to do now, instead of the fans. And he also said, he ended that rant with John Cena, you still can't wrestle. And then Cena goes on, he goes, I don't have to wrestle on Sunday, and then gives like a little light tap on the head and picked Cody up for an attitude adjustment where it looked like he was just going to tease that. But Cody got out of it, hit the crossroads. All of that seemed odd, but I liked the back and forth between the two of them. So that's SmackDown. Gonna do some predictions now for WWE WrestleMania 41 taking place at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Night freaking 1. WrestleMania. The War Raiders taking on the New Day for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. This one's a difficult one to pick.
I'm very troubled because I feel like I want to see New Day really go on to be great heels, but I think War Raiders, I really want to see them be a dominant tag team. I'm going to go with War Raiders.
Do we see Big E get involved at all or no? Not physically, just like a distracting way?
I don't see it.
I'm going to say the War Raiders retain.
There you go. Next up, you got El Grande Americano taking on Rey Mysterio. I'm going to go Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. 100%.
Let's go to Jade Cargill taking on Naomi. I'm going Jade Cargill.
I'm going to say Naomi. Probably wrong, but I'm going to say
really?
Naomi.
Tell me why.
Wow, that's my
Tell me why.
Because then
or
it
how.
can continue.
So you think that Naomi's going to defeat Cargill clean?
No, doesn't have to be clean.
Okay, so Naomi defeats Cargill, but then what would you do with Cargill?
What do you mean? She continues a feud with Naomi.
I don't know. I can't see Cargill losing at a WrestleMania right now.
For the United States Championship.
Especially coming back from injury.
Jacob Fatu looking to get that U.S. Championship from LA Knight.
I'm going Jacob Fatu.
It seems...
What about you?
It seems like something that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very torn about that. LA Knight just won the championship,
going Fatu.
So it's like...
I feel like LA Knight's been a dud. I hate to say it.
I'm going to say Jacob Fatu then.
You got Tiffany Stratton defending her championship against Charlotte... Huh?
I said Tiffany Stratton.
I'm going Charlotte Flair. Sorry, Brandon. I'm going Charlotte Flair.
I'm going to be absolutely pissed. Truly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
World
Just don't break
Heavyweight
your computer.
Championship on the
Charlotte Flair's gonna win.
line. Gunther taking on Jey Uso. I'm going Jey Uso.
I'm going Gunther.
Triple threat main
I'm
event.
going Gunther.
Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins.
I'm going CM Punk.
I'm like torn between Punk and Rollins here.
I know, it's tough.
I'm going to say Punk. Night 2 for the Women's Tag Team Championship. The Judgment Day, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez taking on Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. I'm going to say the Judgment Day retain.
I'm going Judgment Day retains. I agree. Next up, Logan Paul taking on AJ Styles. I'm going with Logan Paul.
AJ Styles has beaten Logan Paul.
Ooh. Have mercy. Okay.
Fatal 4-Way, WWE Intercontinental Championship on the line. Braun Breaker defending the title against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Will we see a brand new member of the Judgment Day help Finn Balor or Dominic win the championship? Or will Penta win a championship? Or will Braun Breaker retain? It's technically possible for Jeff Cobb to show up at WrestleMania Night 2, since WrestleMania Night 1 would be his final match in New Japan, the date-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And they're that far away from Las Vegas that he could technically get there in time for Night 2. This one's a tough one to pick, man.
Yeah. I'm keeping my pick. I'm sorry.
Who did you pick?
Penta.
I'm going to say Penta as well, then. I'm going to say Penta. Got to be a feel-good WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, why not?
Sin City Street Fight. Damian Priest taking on Drew McIntyre.
I'm going Drew McIntyre.
Everything inside me wants to say Drew McIntyre, but I feel like Damian Priest is going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going McIntyre on this one. Next up, triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky versus Belair and Ripley. This one I'm tough on.
This one is very, very difficult to pick. That's like very, very difficult to pick.
Yeah. I feel like Rhea Ripley is too hot right now not to pick her. I'm going Ripley.
I also feel like it has to be Rhea Ripley. I'm gonna pick Rhea Ripley.
When did she win the championship?
Just over a month ago, I think.
On the other hand, if Io does win, it does really solidify her to belong there. And that could be something that she really... I feel like that's something that's needed for Io.
I'm going to pick Io.
I'm sticking to Ripley, but I do hope that Io Sky wins. Main event of the evening for Night 2. Undisputed WWE Championship on the line. Cody Rhodes defending against John Cena. Break that record. John Cena.
Given that it's Easter Sunday, will we see the bunny help him? He has history with Cody.
Possible. It's very possible. Cody does have his altercations with bunnies in the past. I don't know. Did we ever find out who the bunny was? Was it Justin Gabriel?
I mean, on TV, we never found out.
Right?
Off air, people think they know. They think they know who every bunny was, but we have one that I had never ever seen surface to the dirt sheets. Never ever going to say it at all, but I know that it's never been said once, and every so often I Google it just to see. But I know.
You're like, did this ever come out?
I know. You could say 100% Justin Gabriel was a bunny, but I know of another bunny that has never been out there. So, and I'm not one to say it, but I'm going to say John Cena gets number 17. Fingers crossed. The last time is now. It's going to suck seeing this be his final WrestleMania. I just watched the WWE Vault retrospective with unseen footage of his WrestleManias past.
Oh, wow.
So that's WrestleMania. Going to take a quick little break right now, and we'll be right back here on Markin Out.
Hey, this is always ready Matt Cardona, the internet champion, aka the $1,000 broski, aka the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting, the host of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, and you're listening to Markin Out. Wait a minute, are you serious, bro? That's still a show?
Moving back to AEW Collision from last week, it opened up with FTR. And Cash said that it was a hard thing to do what he did to Edge. And he needed Dax to be wrong, but the more he watched Edge, the more he knew Dax was right. And I think some of this might have been ripped from the IWC, with him saying Edge was basically using FTR and I guess describing Edge's current spot in AEW. Which I can't say storyline-wise, at least, that it didn't look like that. But they called Tony Schiavone into the ring, and Tony brought up Dax Harwood's daughter. That made Dax kind of snap. He went to pile drive him. Nigel got into the ring, which stopped FTR. And then Daniel Garcia ran out, and they pushed him, not realizing that it was Daniel Garcia. They helped him up. I do wish FTR took Tony Schiavone out because his commentary is god awful. I mean, not to skip ahead on Dynamite, he said AEW's been on Mondays for the past 200 whatever many weeks, which is. But later on, FTR picked up the victory over Angelo Parker and Matt Menard. FDR went to leave, and 3.0 interrupted them in that segment, and they yelled at them about fooling Daniel Garcia and how they're not going to let them do that. Daniel Garcia was ringside for this match. This got chaotic. It got brutal right away. Storyline-wise, at least. You could see the referee, the goofy ref, jingling around in his pocket. He drops a razor blade on the mat, which you could see clear as day, a shiny silver thing. Matt Menard starts blading. They cut away from that. They cut back to literally see him blading on camera. I don't think the punches from Dax warranted how badly busted open Matt Menard was. And FDR completely disregarded the referee to the point where I feel like the referee should have just disqualified them. But that didn't happen. They ended up attacking Daniel Garcia afterwards. And then the Paragon made the save. You had Jamie Hayter pick up the victory over Billy Starks to advance in the Owen Hart. I really wish the outcome of this was the other way around. Jamie Hayter, since she's returned, there's like zero connection. Billy Starks is at least a fresh thing for television. There were some messy spots in this match, but I think Billy Starks wrestles a similar style to sort of messy. And I thought she wrestled so much better in this match than Jamie Hayter. Yeah, the Gates of Agony pick up the victory over Smash and Burn, which there's nothing to talk about with this match. They want a title shot, somehow a match against people who were not even signed to AEW gets that done. And then on Dynamite, the Hurt Business picked up the victory over the Gates of Agony to retain those championships. But again, come on. Absolutely absurd. Toa Leona started the match by attacking Shelton Benjamin. It seemed like they controlled most of this match, even through the commercial break. All of this I thought was completely unbelievable, especially against the Hurt Business. Are you kidding me? Come on. There's no way. All they did was beat enhancement talent. I hated that. And then MJF showed up afterwards on Dynamite in that segment, brought out some women in return for his acceptance into the group. Shelton Benjamin said that he needed more time, alluding to the watch on MJF's hand, or wrist, I should say. That's where you wear a watch. And he said that he would give it to him if Shelton Benjamin gave him a thumbs up, and Shelton hit him with that thumbs down. And then MJF, regardless, gave him that watch just to show good faith or whatever. This whole segment to me, it seemed like a very bad knockoff of something from the early 2000s. The whole internet was talking about The Godfather, as in the WWE's Godfather. I thought this was something that wrestling has already moved past, but not really, I guess. You had Anthony Bowens pick up the victory over Blake Christian. I feel like the past few Blake Christian matches in AEW isn't really something I need to see. He's not someone on television winning matches. I need for Anthony Bowens to wrestle. If Anthony Bowens is going to be wrestling somebody on TV, I need it to be somebody that has actually beaten other people on TV. Somebody who has proven victories in that company. Because I think that's how you make a win meaningful. At least to me. Anthony Bowens, he looked great in the match. I also saw a lot of people talking about how they don't want Billy Gunn with him anymore. I don't think, and they also said Billy Gunn's holding him back, which I don't see it like that at all, especially since he's not out there tag teaming with Anthony Bowens. He's acting like a ringside coach. It's Billy Gunn. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's anything there. Unless Billy Gunn is going to start wrestling matches with Anthony Bowens again, I don't think there's anything that Billy Gunn can do that damages Anthony Bowens. Bowens is doing it all in the ring. So I just want to see Anthony Bowens wrestle people who have actual victories in AEW. After that, Megan Bayne picked up the victory over Kelly Maiden and LMK. This is similar to the Anthony Bowens match, but their actual enhancement talent. Which to me, I feel like might even be worse for Megan Bayne, given that she's literally wrestled. She just wrestled Toni Storm for the championship. This is a step back. I don't care if she's facing two people. That's a step back. They're not signed. This is a very similar situation with Harley Cameron at one point. You had Kevin Knight pick up the victory over AR Fox. Kevin Knight, dare I say, became the new hologram. He has random matches to rack up wins. And like the other matches, despite how entertaining this match was, if you're beating someone who basically has 0 wins in AEW, why should people care? The only times AR Fox has won on television were tag team matches, with the last one being in 2023. So how does that victory over AR Fox do anything for Kevin Knight? It just shows off his flashy moves. It just gets him a victory on TV. That, I think, is a wrong step. You had Athena pick up the victory over Harley Cameron to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. I do have to say, I am very happy to have seen the 2 Owen Cup matches with women on one show. And then even though I didn't care for the actual match, I'm glad that they had Megan Bayne wrestle as well, because that's not something AEW does. It's very, very rare that AEW does stuff like that with the women. This match I liked. That German suplex from Athena off the apron I thought was dope. I'm glad that they had spots where it looked like Harley Cameron could win, but which it would have been a huge upset if Athena lost that, but there was no way Athena was losing that match, especially to go on to Dynamite to have that other match, but I'll put a pin in that. You had Takeshita pick up the victory over Brody King to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. You knew the outcome of this when the match was announced. The last big win from Brody King was in November against Darby Allin, and because of that, I literally couldn't care less about this match. With Buddy Murphy out, with Buddy Matthews out, and Julia not really being used how I think Julia should be used. Brody King's not being used either in a way I think he should. I feel like Brody and Julia should be getting win after win after win and dominant wins. At one point, I felt like they were going to be that dominant group, and then nothing happened. But AEW Dynamite, moving over to that, you had it in MGM Grand Hall or something like that, right outside Fenway Park. I had no idea there was even a venue over there until AEW announced this show. So I think that's a pretty cool spot, I guess. I was looking up pictures for music for concerts because on TV for wrestling, some of it looked very weird, and then some of the angles for the concerts that I found looked weird. But overall, it sounded fantastic. It was jam-packed, and it looked great on TV at certain angles. So I think they should 100% run that venue again. And I don't see why they wouldn't. They did back-to-back nights there. So I don't see why they wouldn't. You had Mercedes Moné, hometown gal, pick up the victory over Athena to advance in the Owen tournament. I liked the match, but I thought it could have been much better. It had some weird slow parts for me, and I really wish that this match took place in a bigger setting. I do like how long the match was. They gave this match a lot of time. I could have done without the outside of the ring stuff. I did like the double knees that Mercedes hit when Athena tried to get back into the ring at one point. And then she tried for the double stomp off the apron. Athena reversed that. She hit a stunner off the apron. I thought that was nice. Mercedes Moné at one point held on to the Eclipse and pinned Athena to pick up that victory. After that, Hangman picked up the victory over Josh Alexander, making his AEW debut to advance in the Owen tournament. I think it was great to see Alexander in this as the wild card. I wish this match was in a different spot, though. Because following that other match with Mercedes and Athena, they did so many similar spots. Even the ending was exactly the same. Hangman reversed Josh Alexander's finisher with a pin. Literally what Mercedes Moné did to Athena. I wouldn't have done that at all. So I wish that was different. You had Kyle Fletcher come out afterwards. They brawled. Hangman got the upper hand. And then Josh Alexander knocked Hangman down, took him out. Effectively, essentially joining the Don Callis family. You had Will Ospreay pick up the victory over Takeshita to advance in the Owen in that, should have been main event. This match was exactly what you would have expected from the two of them. A bunch of good reversals, a lot of high-flying spots, a lot of false finishes. I like that forearm from Takeshita that sent Will Ospreay into the ropes, and then he ricocheted off that and hit the Blue Thunder Bomb. I thought that was a nice spot. Will Ospreay, though, won with that Stormbreaker. I have no idea how this wasn't the main event. And following it up with the Death Rider segment, man, I don't understand that at all. But the Ops picked up the victory over the Death Riders to become the new Trios champions. With Pac out injured, Jon Moxley filled in. Keep in mind, less than a year ago, they stripped the Bang Bang Gang because Jay White was injured, and they weren't allowed to have Juice Robinson win that championship or fill in. So they stripped them of the titles, but because Pac is out injured, Jon Moxley could just fill in regardless. Even though they're all in the same stable, that made no sense to me. And Hook was out injured as well. Powerhouse Hobbs filled in. This was very chaotic. Marina Shafir got involved. Jon Moxley grabbed a chair later, and Willow took it away. The Young Bucks showed up. They tried to use chairs, and then Swerve Strickland showed up to take them out. Marina Shafir used a chair on Powerhouse Hobbs. Willow took her out. I don't know how the referee didn't see that chair shot, though. So that wasn't a DQ or anything. But Joe ends up choking Jon Moxley out, and literally right away, the match gets called. And then the locker room spilled out to celebrate as if Jon Moxley lost the championship and AEW has control of, and the locker room has control of AEW again. I thought that ending for Jon Moxley, that was awful. I thought that he looked awful in that ending. All the buildup that they've had for months, and granted, it's not the AEW championship. He just loses literally in 1 second. Collision, we had a special night due to the NHL playoffs. And it opened with the Death Riders. They attacked random personnel from AEW. AEW literally just fined and suspended FTR for putting their hands on Tony Schiavone. Just their hands. Teasing a pile driver. But the Death Riders get to tear the place apart. Never have any consequences. How that makes sense is beyond me. But Jon Moxley addressed everything from AEW Dynamite. Basically saying the Ops won't be champions for long. He doesn't like the Young Bucks. And then he challenged Samoa Joe for the AEW Championship, even though he is the AEW champion. I don't know why that always seems to happen in AEW. But it seems like that match is going to be Joe winning the title over Mox. And if it's not, yeah, I don't know. They could definitely be waiting for Darby Allin to come back, but I hope not. You had Kevin Knight pick up the victory over Lance Archer. On paper, it could look like a great victory for Kevin Knight, given Lance Archer's size and everything. But the last time Lance Archer won a singles match against someone signed to AEW was 2023 against Trent Beretta. It's like a circle, a never-ending circle here with AEW. And for that reason, I had literally zero interest in this. I had no reason to care about this match. And even less of a reason to care about someone beating Lance Archer. That's a step backwards for Kevin Knight again. Afterwards, you had Josh Alexander and Takeshita team up to pick up the victory over Rocky Romero and Ishii. This was, I think, obviously a match to get Josh Alexander a win on AEW television. I don't need to see a match where the conglomeration wrestles, though. It's a very similar situation to Lance Archer. Although they have at least victories over people who were signed, recent victories, I should say, who were signed to AEW. And how did AEW manage to make this match look even less impressive to me? They had Rocky Romero leave. And Ishii, instead of being what Ishii normally could be, loses. And then Rocky Romero beat Ishii down. Trent Beretta returned. And also beat Ishii. So the Don Callis family now has, I think, 9 people total, including Don. You had Megan Bayne pick up the victory over Ashley Vox and Rebecca Scott. This is like that last episode of Collision. Like I said before, this was a step backwards. Adam Cole picked up the victory over Claudio to retain the TNT Championship. This was an open challenge. I thought the match was fine. I wish they didn't go to the outside so many times. Especially since that one spot, Claudio pressed Adam Cole over the barricade into the crowd. The referee was not even counting. And instead of counting, he ran up to Adam Cole to give him a pep talk. I hated that. Just count. That's on Claudio if he loses by count out. And I think the outside stuff took a lot out of this match. And then afterwards, Claudio flipped the commentary table. He was pissed off. And the Death Riders, of all people, came out to calm him down. After that, LFI picked up the victory over LSI, Rosario Grillo, and Kevin Matthews. It was great to see Roosh back. He's been missing for quite some time, but it was an unimpressive victory. What does this victory do? What is this match? Why did this match take place? What's the story behind it? LFI has been gone for weeks. There was no explanation there. After that, Nick Wayne picked up the victory over Commander to become the new Ring of Honor TV champion. I don't watch Ring of Honor, so I literally couldn't have cared less about this match. They said Nick Wayne is now the youngest singles champion in Ring of Honor history. Not the case because Billy Starks is still the youngest, singles-wise. Then Nick Wayne, then Roxanne Perez, Roxy. Mark Briscoe is still the youngest champion in Ring of Honor history. He won the tag team championships at the year of 18. I don't know why I said the year of 18, the age of 18. In the main event, you saw Chris Statlander and Julia Hart pick up the victory over Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron. I was looking forward to this match. I enjoy Harley Cameron and Mercedes Moné together. I liked that segment beforehand. This match, to me, though, was lacking a lot. Chris Statlander used the haterade to beat Harley Cameron to tease her match coming up on Dynamite, I believe. But I was very disappointed in this match, and I went back to rewatch it to see if maybe I missed something. Why did it not click? I don't know if it was because Toni Storm was on commentary with that awful commentating team, and her adding to it just takes everything away from the match. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was that I don't want to see Julia Hart in tag team matches, and I want to see her get actual dominant victories. Maybe it was that. I don't know what it was. I hated when Chris Statlander at one point it was Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné. They were ringside. They almost go to square up against one another. They literally just stopped to look at Toni Storm and stare at her. I hated this match. It was so unfortunate. That's another episode of AEW Collision. Hey, Brandon, got any shout-outs?
Hey there, pal, it's me, Mickey Mouse, and you're listening to Brandon Shoutouts.
The first shout-out goes to Hacks, which is back for a brand new season on Max. I did not intend for that to rhyme.
What's Hacks?
It is a television program, a comedy. It's about a comedian from basically a Vegas comedian, and at this point she's got like the Tonight Show, basically not like the Tonight Show, but the late night show. So this season follows it follows up obviously on where it left off from season 3. So I can never say enough good things about this show. I think it's so well done. I'm glad that it's back. It doesn't even feel like it's been a year that went by since the last season, but the last episode was literally in May. So, and as always, I wish the full season was already out because I feel like I probably would be done with it by now. So, but maybe with this kind of week, it's it's best that it's not all out at once. So check out Hacks on Max. Like I said, another show just wrapped up season 1, The Pit, which I gave a shout out already a few months ago, but I just thought this show was so good. I hope this can lead to more people watching it. I thought the show was very well done. It's also out on Max. It's about a trauma medical hospital out in Pittsburgh. It's a drama scripted show. It's renewed for its second season, which I also wish...
Yeah, everybody's talking about this show.
I wish that it was out. I assume we're going to see it next year. The original idea of this show apparently was supposed to be a reboot of ER. And if that was the case, I probably wouldn't have watched it because I never watched ER. And when they couldn't get the rights from Michael Crichton's widow, they pivoted in a different direction and did this. Michael Crichton's widow is suing over this show, but they say it's that different from ER where it works still. So I never saw ER to compare it. I just know that I enjoy this show. So check that show out.
Yeah, I've never seen this show before.
Yeah. But did you watch ER ever or no?
No. I just knew of it.
Do you like medical dramas or?
Not too much. My favorite comedy is Scrubs.
That's not a medical drama.
Totally opposite of anything that's going to be on The Pit.
Yeah. My final shout out goes to WrestleMania 9 becoming the spectacle, which we did mention it last week, but that was before I at least watched it. It's out on Peacock now. This was a lot like Not Just a Goof that I mentioned the other week, in that they had footage literally sitting for 30 years, and they finally turned it into a documentary. And I thought it was really cool to hear stories from longtime employees who helped make that show what it was. It's also crazy, I don't know if it was the biggest, no, that was not the biggest story to come from this, but maybe the second biggest story that came from this was that Nick Khan was an usher at WrestleMania 9. and now he's the CEO.
I thought that was crazy.
That's wild.
That was just crazy to find out.
That's truly wild.
And the fact that there's pictures and images of him there.
Yeah. It's like
right?
it's that part I was completely blown away by that. I think it was really nice to see Lex Luger reacting to footage that he's never seen before.
Yeah.
Like he was truly really happy to be watching new footage.
Yeah, it was cool to see them like marking out for the footage and everything like that.
Yeah, there was one shot of
really
Shawn
did
Michaels, like in completely like I don't know in what world are you filming somebody this way? And he goes, who thought this was the best camera angle? So I thought that was really funny. My favorite part of this documentary was Macho Man backstage with Linda McMahon, and he's trying to convince the cameras that she's drinking alcohol. And she like lowers the cup. She goes, nope, just Pepsi. And he goes, Pepsi and that really popped me. I wasn't expecting to hear something like that. But she was like, no, just Pepsi. He goes, on the rocks. But I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. I liked how they spoke about how everybody backstage was very skeptical of everybody being backstage because they were so...
because this is the first time they set out to film, I guess, an actual documentary. We did have behind-the-scenes footage prior to WrestleMania 9, but I guess nobody ever set out to do it in this documentary way.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought all of that was cool. I would definitely check that out on Peacock. Lex Luger, like we said in the past, he's going into the Hall of Fame this year. That's coming up. So that was announced that DDP is inducting him.
Oh, they announced it?
Yeah, HBK's inducting Triple H. The Undertaker's inducting Michelle McCool. DDP's inducting Lex Luger. They did not say who's inducting the Natural Disasters. CM Punk's doing Bret Hart versus Stone Cold.
That's interesting.
And I have to assume Jimmy Hart will do the Natural Disasters, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see Jimmy Hart, but it stinks that that they couldn't get Sting.
Maybe they didn't ask. Maybe we don't know.
For Luger.
We don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
But those are my shout-outs. Moving over to our...
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. I mentioned the WWE Vault before, but they also aired a new retrospective, and they had Mark Henry, Booker T, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Victoria, and the Brainbusters talk about past WrestleMania moments with them. Like Mark Henry spoke about WrestleMania 22 against The Undertaker. Booker T spoke about his match at WrestleMania 22 against Boogeyman, which I don't think I knew Boogeyman worked with a torn pec in that match. But Booker T was very proud of being able to put Boogeyman over in his WrestleMania debut. I thought like stuff like that I think is cool to see.
That's interesting with him too.
He had Jim Duggan talk about WrestleMania 8 with him, Big Boss Man, Sergeant Slaughter, and Virgil taking on the Mountie, Repo Man, and the Nasty Boys. Victoria spoke about her versus Molly Holly at WrestleMania 20. So I do appear in the WWE Vault video this week.
It is very, very clear. It's obvious that it's you.
Yeah, and then the Brainbusters spoke about them and Strike Force at WrestleMania 5. So it's cool to see Arn and Tully like that. You have any mark out moments?
That WrestleMania 9, that documentary.
Pips
like I said the other week, that was my first one watching live, or at least to my recollection. I'm pretty positive that was the first one watching live at my grandparents' house.
And everyone will say that WrestleMania
that,
is the worst WrestleMania, but this documentary doesn't show that it's the worst WrestleMania. It shows that it was a fantastic thing to document.
Yeah, I don't understand why people say it was the worst just because Hulk Hogan ends as the winner, maybe.
I mean...
But the other the other matches were, as a kid watching that, it was so entertaining. I could rant about it like I did last week, but there was so many entertaining factors. You can bash Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker all you want, but watching that as a kid, it was interesting. It was cool.
Which I'm glad they had Sam Roberts in this documentary to get that perspective of someone who was an actual kid watching that WrestleMania, and how, even though people do say this WrestleMania sucks, they have the same exact perspective as you're saying right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like you have to take yourself out and remember how much fun it was watching as a child. And it was incredible. It was a lot of fun. I feel like I want to go back and watch that Steiner's match too with the Head Shrinkers. And like I remember watching it and it being like a cool matchup. I remember I don't remember the Papa Shango. Was that on TV?
He literally says it was a dark match.
Oh, I didn't hear that it was a dark match part.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I didn't remember Papa Shango having a match on there. I thought that Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels was the opening matchup.
Technically, it was.
But, yeah, technically. Yeah, I had no clue that Papa Shango wrestled on that one. But, yeah, very, very cool event. And I think, is everybody on agreement to what happened to his eye now? Doesn't seem like it.
I think,
right?
I feel like if Brutus Beefcake is telling that same exact story with the jet ski, it has to be the jet ski. In 2025, the way that we see Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan don't speak to each other, I think if Brutus Beefcake is willing to say the exact same story that he said for the past 30 years, then it has to be that story. It has to be. It can't be the Scott Steiner, well, Macho Man told me that he did do that. It can't.
Yeah, so he's taking his...
So,
yeah.
But those are the mark out moments of the week, and that is our WrestleMania episode 741. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can check us out on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms. Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT, Facebook.com/MarkinOut, YouTube and Instagram are MarkinOut11, ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkinOut to get you some merch. You got us on TikTok at Markin Out. You got Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, markinout.com. Rate, review, subscribe, and we wish you the best of luck.
Best
in your future endeavors.
endeavor.
Have a fan.